Happy Saturday, everybody, from the Quarantine Cafe. This is day 5 for us. We're still whittling our way through the pantry. I hope you guys are managing as best you can out there. Hope you're making some tasty food. Please, on this video, on a separate page, if you want to just slide into my DMs, share me pictures of everything that you guys are doing. If you have any recipes, I'd love to give you a shout out in some future vids. We're kind of doing the best we can. I know yesterday in the video I kind of lamented the fact that I didn't have a cocktail. Today I have a cocktail, so I guess this is me living my dreams here. This is kind of the epitome of Atlanta restaurants making the best of a tough situation. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms just passed an ordinance allowing the city to be able to sell beer and wine to go, and I normally would not talk about this, but they posted it on their social page the other day, so I guess the cat's out of the bag. You can buy bulk cocktails from my good friends at Muss & Turner's. This is their Brown Thrasher. It came to me tightly wrapped in plastic in a beautiful quart-sized deli container. And so buying a quart's worth of cocktails, I even had to reach out to my dear friend Lindsay and ask her exactly how many cocktails comes into this thing, because once you're on your own, self-governance just goes out the window. So cheers, and once again, happy Saturday. That is delicious. I shall continue. So this is going to be probably the first video where I've already started with something cooking here. We're going to be doing a Tuscan soup called a Ribollita. Ribollita means reboiled. I think all the great cuisines of the world are kind of based, or they're really peasant food. You look at some of Mexico, you look at Italy, you look at the South in the U.S., other parts of the world where they're not as affluent as maybe some of the Western European nations. And to me, that's really where the tastiest food is, because we're making the most out of what's left over, what's around, and really just cheap stuff. So this is by no means a hardcore recipe. This is just, I'm going to give you kind of a brief roadmap of how to do this. I've started already, and as my onions are starting to turn a little bit, turn color, I've got some mirepoix in here. If you're not familiar with the term, it's simple. It's onions, celery, and carrots. It's the classical French term for just the basic flavor base that informs a lot of our soups, our stews, our braises. Those of us who kind of grew up close to New Orleans. The Trinity would be a similar idea. If you're a Latin American fan, or certain parts of Europe, you might know it as sofrito. Just the general principle behind it. So anyway, I didn't want this to be just me stirring a bunch of really hard vegetables and going for 45 minutes while I'm waiting for all this to cook, because some of these will have a little bit of time to go with them. So those have just sweated down. They're nice and soft. I got some garlic. As talked about yesterday, garlic is going into just about everything we do here in the QC.
It makes the house smell amazing.
It does. If I could bottle, I talked about this when I was cooking in college. Those of you who are in Millsaps in Goodman, the apartment style dorms, kind of open up the door and it would just walk through the courtyard. Really all you have to do is just put garlic in a pan with oil and you get heads kind of crane out of the door like, what are you cooking? And then years later I'm like, if I could bottle that as a fragrance of just sauteed garlic, a little, right there, not actually touching myself, because that's, not good to touch your face in these times.
Yeah. Welcome to Ben Rosenblum.
Hey, Ben. Long time no see.
Yeah. And Lindy Frank and John Barkel back for more.
Oh my goodness. I'm thrilled to see all of you. I really am. So the garlic, I just kind of sliced it because I was feeling lazy today. You could mince it if you want. Your call. Our favorite around here, crushed red pepper. I'm not looking for this to be spicy, but just it's a good rounded flavor to where if you got just a little bit of heat that just kind of does some pinpricks on your tongue, that just, it's good in tomato sauce. It's good in a lot of soups, especially in the Italian world. Got some rosemary. You can chop it up if you like. If you had bay leaves or thyme and you wanted to take some kitchen twine and tie it all together, this was really the one fresh herb that we had floating around that would be good in this, so in that goes. We'll fish out the stem a little bit later.
Jaime says, hola, papi.
Hola, Jaime. Hope you're doing well.
Let's take a look at that. See what we got so far.
I'm going to add some veggies in there too. Our veggies are getting just a little bit dark, but that's okay. Just the onions. It's not the garlic burning, which would be the irreparable part of the dish.
Oh, Yale Murphy in the house.
What's up, Yale? Hope Yale and Jen are managing with, you got to give a shout out to anybody who, teachers in general, and then the people who are having to become teachers as homeschoolers. So shout out to you guys. So really, with this, any vegetables that you have on hand, the main two that make Ribollita what it is are white beans, which I'm going to add a little bit later. Or you guys can use any type of beans in this. You got red beans, you got black beans, you got chickpeas. Any of that would work well in there, and then some type of green. I know I've seen a couple of you guys, so I'm trying to remember everyone. Lindsay Williams and Carrie Burns have both posted pictures of great-looking market boxes and baskets. I know Lindsay was asking me how to use cabbage. This is a great outlet for that. If you have kale, if you have spinach, fresh or frozen, that's a really good way to use this up and stretch it. You'll see this in one more dish that we have. I know Wendy bought a kind of a 3-pack of the cellophane wrapped zucchini. We used one yesterday in our curry. We got another one right here going into the soup.
I love zucchini. Also, didn't you notice there was a lot of cabbage at the grocery store?
There was a lot. Yeah, this is, what I want to do kind of as we go forward too is, think of things that, there's a lot of industries are starting to feel this terrible time that we're in right now. Of trying to be mindful of some budget-friendly dishes too. I don't think, unless it's all that's available, because I did notice that they had a lot of the nicer steak cuts when all the meat was pretty much pillaged. But really trying to make the most out of $1 and stretch what we can over here. Black pepper is a pretty big component of this dish. So, think of this is almost kind of a first cousin to minestrone. Too, if any of you guys if you want to use that as a reference point. I'm not adding pasta to this, but you could if you wanted to. Cooked potatoes would be excellent in this. The traditional recipe calls for bread. It's a way to kind of thicken it, make it hearty, specifically stale, day-old bread. Bread's a hot commodity these days, so it's not going in the soup.
And this is vegetarian, correct?
It is vegetarian.
And gluten-free.
And gluten-free, and until if you guys have vegetable broth, or even if you wanted to use water and made sure you season it afterwards, you could make this a vegan dish if you wanted to. If you had the means and you didn't want to make this a vegan dish, like if I'm doing this just for me, for my own enjoyment, I might start this with a little bit of pancetta, or even some bacon if you like the smoky background before I were to add my onions, my celery, my carrots. But again, this is not really a time for luxury, for excess, for making it perfect. This is just kind of making the best of what you can. This was also just 1/4 of a head of cabbage. Cabbage is one of those things that, yes, it will cook down, but it stretches such a long way. I'm just looking for this to wilt a little bit, because most of this is going to cook down once we get the liquid in the pan.
So what's actually in a Thrasher cocktail? The one that the Lindsay made for you.
You're prompting me to take another drink, and I really like this. It's the best camera person I've ever worked with in my career. So.
He has to say that.
I do. No offense to anyone out there who may actually have worked with me, who are still friends on the camera. Ramona, I still love you. The brown thrasher is bourbon, it's Averna, it's a smoked apple shrub, which as I'm pouring this out, the pectin from the apple, it had this almost like gelatinous kind of homemade veal stock look as it was coming out. That was really cool. Lemon and I believe maple that goes into it, and then I've added some ice. I forget if that was part of. I think it served over one of the big ice cubes, but again, in the struggle times, you do the best you can, whatever our little freezer has, and this is really making me happy right now.
Very cool. Mary Britton in the house.
Hey, Mary Britton.
And
Thanks
Amy Guido. I'm sorry, I'm totally
Guido.
Guido. Sorry, Amy. Sorry.
This is those Natchez.
Guido.
Natchez. Wendy will tell you if you go see street signs from creeks and rivers, anything that came out of Natchez will give a non-native. It's a good way to distinguish who's from there and who's not.
Homochito.
That's right. The homochito versus saying it phonetically has provided lots of entertainment for us. So I've got our white beans. These were cannellini beans. I just drained them and rinsed them because you don't want any of the kind of bean goo that comes out of the can. Really sounded vile, but it's I got no other term for it. It's just whatever they're packed in. You want to get rid of that. If it's, like I said, if it's black beans, if you're making red beans and rice, which we'll do at some point down the road, you want to rinse that off and get rid of it before you start cooking with it.
I used to just, drain them, like squeeze the top onto the can, but you should actually put them on put water on them.
I would, yeah. Just want to get rid of that residue. I mean, yeah, if the best you can do is just a quick drain, that's better than nothing. I've got a can of tomatoes, just basic, good old Publix brand diced tomatoes for 89 cents.
Diced tomatoes for everything.
That's right. If you had crushed tomatoes, you could use that. If you had just, a quarter cup or so of pasta sauce just left over, that'd work too. What this is going to do is just add a little bit of acidity to what we got going on here.
All right, let's get a good look. How's this coming together? Yum, yum, yum.
Pretty good. I mean, this is...
It's a lot of food, too.
It is a lot of food. I mean, normally we try and do these for 2 people, but, it's not like I could kind of say, all right, well, let's just do, a quarter of a zucchini and a half a cup of white beans. I just wanted to kind of be able to show what you guys might be going through. We're just cooking for 2, but most of you out there have, 4 or 5, even 6 members of your family to cook for. So this is a great way to stretch that. Perfect complement if you ever want to just, if we're looking for a soup to make grilled cheese and things like that at home as a way to kind of turn that into a more substantial meal. This is a great one. We're omnivores in this house, so we have chicken broth. Certainly, if you're enterprising enough to have homemade, that would be the best. But
got some time on your hands.
That's right. But we're not, and I would doubt that most of you guys would be as well.
Also, if you guys have any questions for Jeffrey while he's live, we've got a captive chef here for your questions and any advice he can give you.
And I do appreciate every question we've been getting over the go around, even if it's after the fact and you want to leave it in the comments. That's awesome. If you guys want to take pictures of just some random ingredients that you may have in your pantry, and you're like, hey, I need some help. I've got. I'm not even going to conjecture right now, but just 3 or 4 things that may not go terribly well together, or you may be scratching your head. Let me know. I'll see if I can kind of help guide you to an answer. So really, this is kind of it. If you wanted to make the most traditional version of it, I would simmer it a little bit. Then I would add some bread to it. Just a thick, rustic. I wouldn't use sandwich bread for it, but if you have any of the heartier stuff. I know for me personally, from having walked through the grocery store, the sliced bread is the first thing to go. That's usually wrecked pretty hard. Go to the bakery section. The kind of the Italian bread, the French bread, some of the multigrain, some of the bigger loaves that are a bit heartier. Those are still in abundance. And my one ingredient that I didn't mention, this is kind of the epitome of great peasant cooking. This is a cheese rind. We use pecorino around here, so this is it. If you had Parmesan, if you have Manchego, if you have anything that's kind of firm and hard, probably wouldn't use cheddar just because it leaves a little too distinct of a flavor in there. But just let that in there. It will give this great kind of umami, savory flavor that'll just kind of permeate throughout the dish and make it taste a little bit more rounded.
Yeah, and can you remind people who are just joining what we're making today?
We are making Ribollita, a reboiled, a Tuscan peasant soup. Beans and greens is kind of the most, are kind of the most important parts of it, but it's really just a straight pantry raid for anything you guys may have. If you've got fresh, frozen, any type of vegetables, if you have odds and ends left over, this is a great outlet for, we made dinner the other night. I've got only about a cup of some roasted potatoes. I've got some leftover green beans, but only about half a cup's worth. It's not really enough to turn that into a straight meal if we were to serve them on their own. This is a perfect outlet for that, and as you can see deep inside, my intention was to just do this for 2 people. I'm probably going to be able to serve 6 out of this.
That's a lot of food.
It is. We're going to have to take a break from this at some point just so we can play catch up on the eating, or maybe we'll just have to do cocktails on the in-between.
We did leftovers last night.
Oh, we did. We had, I think Wendy had the curry that we made yesterday. I finished off the jambalaya that we did 2 days ago. So we're in the struggle just like the rest of you. So really, I'm just going to kind of put a lid on this and let it simmer for about 20-30 minutes. We'll check it for seasoning in the end. We'll fish out the rosemary. That's about it. Thanks again for watching on a Saturday. We'll do this again tomorrow. I'll probably do some breakfast. I know we've had some requests on eggs, so we'll definitely do some breakfast for you guys, or brunch, because I don't know if I want to wake up early enough to do breakfast. But again, any questions, any comments, please share this with anybody. If you have any, if you're friends or if you're on groups, we would love to make this thing go viral. Bad choice of words, sorry. We'd like for as many people to see this as possible. So thanks again for joining us. Stay safe out there, stay indoors, wash your hands.